Hey, Norcal Carters. Welcome back to Norcal Mondays. It feels like it's been a couple of weeks, but I think we only had 1 week off. But tonight, it is September 12th, 2022. And it is, I don't know if it's open mic or open lines, but we just sent out pretty much an open invite. And there's two reasons for that. One, Ashley and I had a very, very busy weekend. That's the lazy excuse. And two, it's almost testing who actually tunes into the show, who um, gives us feedback on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube. So we quickly put out an image like, hey, open mic night. And those that responded, we tried to send them out to who we could. But right now, I mean, we're going to have a good show tonight. So far, we're going to be stacked. The first show is going to be stacked with a group from Trackmagic. Because we had the Trackmagic rally at Prairie City this past weekend. Donald Durbin did a great job cleaning up the property, painting it, bringing flags. Just really went all out for that Trackmagic group. But I don't want to be a spoiler. So, but again, we have a panel from there. We have a bunch of feelers coming out. We have a couple special guests chiming in throughout the hour as their schedules free up. But without further ado, let's get into a couple housekeeping items. Like I just said, we had Trackmagic Grand Rally this past weekend at Prairie City. And again, the cop out for Ashley and I, it was just a busy weekend. Open mic night. If you're hearing this, send us a DM, send us a message. You might be able to send an email to Ashley. She'll clarify this in 2 minutes. But my email right now is off, so you'll have to send a message through Instagram or Facebook, and we'll DM the studio link to you. But coming up this weekend, speaking of Prairie City has a club race coming up this weekend, the 17th and the 18th. In 2 weeks, Rock Sonoma has a race number 7, and that'll be, again, Rock Sonoma. We will be live streaming on YouTube for Rock Sonoma. And coming up the first week of October, we have the NCK road racing event at Thunderhill. It's the fall shootout. So those are the 3 big events coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And the reason they're highlighted on this show right now is because all 3 of those clubs, Prairie City Karting, Rock Sonoma, and NCK, are all sponsors of Norcal Karters. So they get a little bit more attention than the clubs that don't sponsor. But all the race schedules can be found on norcalkarters.com. And without further ado, Ashley, are you ready?
Hey, NorCal. All right, so I'm here to remind you we have the NorCal Army shirts, and we also have them in heather gray. We have them, I believe, in the dark gray. And there's long sleeve and short sleeve options. Again, go to Norcal Carters and it's in store there. We want to see these at the track. Tag us on social media and we'll give you a shout out.
Very cool. Thank you, Ashley. And our first guest up tonight, I actually didn't explain this to Bob, but Bob, you're going to be our first guest up. So you're going to give us an intro and you're going to get the full screen. Boom. Bob Eriks.
Welcome aboard.
I named him the Summoner.
Summoner.
You really are the whole reason or the excuse for the Trackmagic Owners Group. And it was great hanging out with you this past weekend at Prairie City. So give our listeners and our viewers an introduction to who's Bob Eriks.
An enthusiast. Let's put it that way. A Carter, a Norcal Carter from, a little bit, way back. And just an enthusiast.
Enthusiast of what? What chassis has grabbed your heart and said, I am going to grow this group? I'm not really sure based on your studio there.
Well, obviously, Trackmagic, because of before I was a karter, I was a skateboarder. And so started getting into motorsports from my father. And wanted to do some karting, and when it came down to searching the magazines and finding out what was, a realistic investment to get into racing, doing some studying, I almost bought an Emic, but Trackmagic was closer to me in San Francisco. I'm up in Santa Rosa, and it made no sense. All right, I mean, it was a no-brainer to just go with Trackmagic. They were winning. They were closest to me. They had, and eventually learned that, Thrasher magazine, Fausto Vitello, everybody, it was like this it's a no-brainer. Just go to the factory, get it and signed up. It was put me on a waiting list. Tom Dyer took my order. They got it done in actually less time than they had estimated, and took it home, assembled it, went to Dixon, practiced for about 8 hours, I think. Then I was in my first, and during that time, they finished the Sears Point kart track. And so I was tuning for Dixon, but then again, Sonoma's closer to me, so, and brand new. So ended up doing my first race at in a shifter cart at Sonoma. It was 2002. And I think that was actually the first real race held there. They still had the construction fencing around it and all that. And did really good. I did really good. I got on the podium out of 16 other karts.
Nice.
On my first out, and then raced a couple more times and just started learning that, oh man, this is hard work, takes a lot of money. I ended up buying a ski boat and leaning it against the wall, getting the cart against the wall, not the ski boat. And then 16 years later, it's like, okay, it's time to do something with a go-kart or get rid of it. So the only way I'm going to be able to get rid of it is to try, at least get it running, and so somebody could go, I don't know, take it to their backyard or something, or the cul-de-sac they live on. And once I put it on the stand and started shining everything up, I fell back in love with it, just instantly, boom. And it's like, and I had always paid attention to Trackmagic, even when I wasn't racing. I was, and then finally there was a big gray area where it was virtually just done. There was no Trackmagic, right? And I'm like, damn it. I mean, because I still want stickers and shit. You know what I mean? It's all about the swag. And so I was like, all right, well, I need some stickers for this because I'm back in love with it. I want to make this thing cool, cool Trackmagic cart, because there's no more Trackmagic. And so I'm like, all right, well, internet, and I learned about groups and online, organizations where you build a community. And I was already doing that actual same stuff with sim racing. And so I learned a lot with that. Then I put out the owners group on Facebook, because I'm in a slot car group that has like a zillion members. So it's like, okay, people are paying attention to this kind of stuff, And so I just sent it. It's like, all right, Trackmagic Racing Kart Owners Group was the original throwdown. Made it all public for a while just to see who bites. And then during that time, I got in touch with Joe Fong, Thrasher, independent, knew Fausto the longest. I mean, this is the closest you can get to Trackmagic and Mimo Gidley. I sent him an email. Mimo is busy. He didn't respond, but Joe did. So then I go like, hey, Joe, check this out. And Next thing I know, some more friends of Joe who were connected to Trackmagic started chiming in. And then Jeff Deskins was the next key player. He comes in with like gigabytes, like terabytes of classic Trackmagic stuff. So he's I think the third person in the group besides me and my brother, because it takes two people to start a group. And Jeff, I think, was so realistic. He was the first one in and just started, it just ran off.
And how many members do you have in that group now?
We got 5 more this weekend. I think we're 730 something. I don't know, 700 and something.
733.
733 people, and the group started in 2017.
Yeah.
So
let's get into that a little bit more, and then we'll bring up our other couple guests. And honestly, this show might be the whole Trackmagic Owners Group show, depending on who else chimes in with the open mic night. So it's like, but thank you for getting this thing going. It's been a lot of fun to watch the journey, and just watching that group grow. And we'll get into a little bit more because I do have a comment about that owners group and kind of a challenge to the rest of the industry and karting enthusiasts out there. So the challenge is going to come up here in a minute, but actually, let's just throw it out now. If you have a passion for a karting brand, create an owners group and tag Norcal Karters in it, because prove me wrong, but there's no other group out there in karting outside of the actual manufacturer. We're talking about a community, a network, and an owners group that is stronger than Trackmagic. But prove me wrong. Try it. So with that being said, let's bring up one of the I'm very terrible with words. Pillars of Trackmagic, going back to the 90s. A lot of us remember this gentleman, Rich Bakke. What's going on?
Rich
Barbecue. Boy.
How are you doing tonight?
Decompressing from the weekend. 111 degrees when I come from 60 to 70 max. So just recovering, hydrating. Glad to be home. 5 days at Prairie City is, reminds me of the old days of the race weekends,
Yeah.
And I'm feeling it. Of course, we're 20 years older than we were when we were racing back in the day. And,
I didn't see you ride a bicycle into the pool this time.
No. That was that was 2001.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills, Prim, Nevada. I made a deal with Kyle. So you guys win, I'll do it in my underwear. Get on the podium, I'll do it dressed. And sure enough, we ripped a third place. So of course we had to do the whole I had to keep my word and jump my bike into the pool, but we had it all set up. We had 2 guys in the pool ready to get the bike out while I climbed out and ran to the elevator and escaped the lifeguard and security. And of course, they see Richard Martin in an elevator with the Trackmagic shirt, and they said, "Hey, you're one of those guys. Who is it?" And he didn't give it up. We never got caught, but Fausto sure wasn't happy about that one.
Well, it's great to see you this weekend, and thank you for joining the live stream tonight. So for those who don't know, Rich Bakke was the head mechanic for Trackmagic for a number of years. You worked with a number of factory drivers. Over the past couple of years, you've also been a huge supporter of Norcal Karters. You've also been a huge supporter of the Trackmagic Owners Group. We'll bring up our next guest, and you guys can kind of go back and forth on kind of how you've supported the brand of Trackmagic. But yeah, plug your business, Rich. Tell everyone, Gorilla Barbecue, the Caboose, give it a plug.
Yeah, well, I was always barbecuing in the pits when we were up at when we'd be testing and at Dixon and stuff, and whenever I could at races, and it just evolved into the business I own now, which is Gorilla Barbecue. Opened, established in 2006. It's just been a whirlwind. It's allowed me to be able to, we'll say, sponsor and help keep promoting the sport that actually I really fell in love with. Working for the brand. That's the only go-kart I've ever worked on or ever will work on is the black and yellow. That's all I know. And I had some friends ask me, "Hey, if we go buy this other go-kart, can you help us out?" I go, "Nope, don't know how to work on them." It's once it's in your blood, that's it.
Well, and that's one of the nice things. A lot of you have that same attitude when it comes to Trackmagic, and which makes the rally so much fun. So, thank you for the introduction, and then let's bring up our final guest right now. Again, tonight's open mic night. We got a couple more guests that are going to be chiming in here in about 5 or 10 minutes. But last but not least, who's in the studio currently? Did you get the long? No, you didn't get the long distance award this weekend, but you just got home. And Jason, give everyone an introduction. Who's Jason LaPointe?
Oh, I'm a ex Trackmagic driver from the '90s. Boy, this dating myself, but yeah. Went to work for them, replacing Mamo when he went to Atlantic after his big win at the Supernats. That wasn't called the Supernats, so they don't call 1996 Supernats. So, but yeah, I mean, it was that was my time. It was short. It seems like now everybody respects that time frame as like a golden era of shifter carts, but I went down and drove for them and had a lot of success, and they were an education that spurred me into race cars and a racing career, and then actually the owners became my partners in a new business venture that I did in 2003, and up until actually both owners, Fausto and Eric, both passed away. So I was involved with them while racing, after racing, and then maintained a lot of my friendships with everyone throughout the years as well. So Trackmagic was kind of like a college for me, since I left college and dropped out and went to Trackmagic, and then it became like the family, and now the group is like has been like family, and sometimes we fight like family, and sometimes we make mistakes like that in family, and seems like it's just part of it when you're in a group. And so it's one of those things where we basically to keep this going, I think our hearts bleed it, and bleed black and yellow, and bleed it, and our passion is so so strong for it that we do everything we can and burn ourselves out to make it happen. And we feel like that now, because it's like a weekend takes everything. I know Bob and Rich and myself, we want it so bad to go perfectly, and I think everybody else feels that way. And then sometimes we come back and we're like, oh man. But I think this weekend went great for a lot of people, and I think it was just very memorable with the legends that showed up, such as like Ron Emick rolling around, and friends that I haven't seen for a long time showing up, and telling their stories, and getting their helmet back on. We had like Benny Moon and his brother, and just a handful of other guys, just that I haven't talked to for a long time. And it's great to see like Rob Howden out there and driving everything, and being a part of the group for the first time. And and then like the guys like Don DeLay that bring their whole crew out. Again, it's like it's everybody in there, and George Barros that used to manage and wrench for me. I mean, these guys are the pillar of the sport. You go down the industry right now, and like Gary Carlton that is currently making some of the carts that we and stuff that right now with Trackmagic, and his history is Trackmagic, and Mike Speed, his history is Trackmagic. Greg Bell's history is Trackmagic. Mike Rollison worked at Trackmagic. There's not many people in the paddock to this day that don't have a connection to the brand, and so the group has been important to the sport, and so when looking at my involvement right now, it's like I wanted to do a few things with the brand. I wanted to make it relevant again on the racing scene, and so we have Gary Carlton doing that. And I wanted to make the rallies fun to reconnect everyone to the brand, and the owners group and everything has been really integral to all of that. Of course, their involvement in the racing too, and then producing and innovating product to help the sport and make the pie bigger, and my own passion of shifter carts, making those bigger, which is what we brought to the table at this event, which was our 4-stroke shifter that we thought might be fun, or we thought maybe nobody would care. So
well, let's pause right there for a moment. I'm going to bring everybody up on the screen, and then I have the video of you, Kyle, and Oliver at Prairie City in the 4-stroke carts. So give me one moment while I cue that up for a second. Yeah, it's the 190 was, I think it was pretty damn successful this weekend. A lot of people had interest in it. So I don't know if everybody caught it, but the curbs were painted black and yellow at Prairie City. The banners in the background, Trackmagic. A lot of the cinder blocks were black and yellow. But yeah, talk about that 190. And then right after that, we have another Trackmagic driver that just joined us. So talk about the 190, and then we'll bring in the other driver that just joined us.
Okay. Well, this is just a concept that actually came up with years before even I was interested in the Trackmagic coming back. I was actually talking to Greg Bell about building a 4-stroke shifter, and we were talking about 254 strokes. We were talking about other stuff because Greg Bell and I worked in the ATV industry a little bit together when I was doing 4-strokes, and he was trying to do that too, to make more money in the shop and build motors. And I was like, man, what's karting not doing a 4-stroke for? I'm like, there's it's pretty weird to have 2 strokes in any type of motorsports anymore. And so years later, I mean, I just never thought of it as something else I do. So the pit bike industry that makes all the derivatives of like Honda makes a 50 and a 70 and a 90 and a 110, and Kawasaki makes a 110, and all these guys have the horizontal engines, and they're all pretty reliable and been evolving since the 60s, and I'd been playing with them in 3-wheelers and everything else, and I was like, well, if they ever they were always 4-speed, and they didn't have a big clutch, and they didn't rev out very high, and then Daytona, it was just a Japanese manufacturer, came out with a engine that was basically everything I thought would work on a kart, and they came out with a 5-speed with a roller rocker, 4-valve head, and a big clutch that it could be modified or even beefed up if need be. And they're putting them in all these Italian mini super bikes like the Ovale, and I think I don't know if it's called the Buki, the BU CCIs, and then Sunday flat trackers, and these guys were doing them as OEM engines. And I'm like, if these 250-pound guys could get on these little mini super bikes with slicks and rip them around go-kart tracks, and why is a go-kart not ripping these things around? And so I bought one to see if it would work, and then spent some time putting it on a cart, and it was not easy. There's no product out there, and a couple guys were trying it at the time. I was working on the phone with Billy Musgrave, even, who had tried a similar Chinese knockoff at first, a Zongshin, and it didn't work. It was a 2-valve, and he tried it, and then he went to a Daytona, but then he kind of like lost interest or something in it. But I kept going, and then it just worked, and I put a whole bunch of people in it at our Davis rally, and they ripped it around. And I was like, well, I thought it was just going to be fun. I didn't think everyone was going to like it. And then, so fast forward, I ordered chassis, which took, in this supply chain issue, set off the coast of Long Beach with everybody else's stuff for months. And finally, after 8 months, I get these carts, and I finally get them. And, thanks to Rich and Bob, I mean, we were able to get these things together. And so and then I thought, I mean, we bought all these cart covers that we thought were cool too, but it's like they didn't sell, right? I mean, people think they're cool, but they didn't sell. So I came to this rally thinking, well, people may not think they're cool at all, and
they're really cool when it's free.
Yeah, I'll just run my buddy. Yeah, exactly. They're cool when they're free. Everything's cool and free. But yeah, I just thought, oh, worst case is I'm gonna have some carts to run around with my friends. And
I should have been faster. I should have said, hey, you should just leave all 4 of them down here for me.
Yeah.
It would have saved you on gas.
You have the 5th one, so if anybody wants one, Jason Berry has number 5. That's
number 5.
It's not put together, but if
so
you want a roller,
on track in the 190.
Yeah.
Who had the fastest lap of the weekend?
Oh, it was Preston. Definitely laid down the fastest lap. I think followed by Dean Pitton and Kyle Wick, and then Cole Shade, if I had my numbers right. But I think Preston went out on some pretty good tires. They weren't stickers, but he laid down a 44.7. And then Dean had a 45.2 with way older tires, and then Wick went out and did like a 45.5. So Cole was close to that. I don't know. I think Kyle Martin did a 45.9, which is pretty
nice.
Good. Yeah.
So speaking of Preston Lambert, we're going to use that to introduce him because he's sitting in the studio right now. Do you mind?
Yeah.
All right. You ready, Preston?
Come on.
What's up?
Preston Lambert. Fast lap from the Trackmagic Rally weekend.
Yeah.
190.
Yeah, thing's fun.
Did you cut the track?
No, I swear.
You stayed on course.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts? You've been on the show a couple of times, but for those that are just tuning in, introduce yourself like no one knows who you are. What class do you run? What chassis do you run? Your home track, and then your thoughts on the Daytona 190.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Preston Lambert. I race for Trackmagic and GFC. So I'm racing in the junior 100cc class right now. My home track's Prairie City.
Okay. And what was your thoughts on the 190?
I thought it was fun. Like compared to the 80, it's a little slower, but having to blip the downshifts and the electric start makes it definitely interesting. Like I thought it was a blast to drive. Like I enjoyed it a lot. Oh, that's
right. Yeah, Jason and I didn't talk about that. Electric start.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Electric start shifter.
Yeah. It's definitely easier than having a push start. So
very cool. Well, thank you for the introduction. I'm gonna bring everybody up on the same screen. Let's see. Walden Racing's chiming in. Does it have noticeable amount of engine braking? Jason, Preston, I'll let you two answer that.
Well, okay. So my first version, I put a slipper clutch on it because I thought the engine braking was going to be excessive, and I thought the slipper clutch would solve that and make it feel more like a 2-stroke. To be honest, like I don't really notice the engine braking, even without the slipper clutch. You don't hear the engine rev up like you hear in a 2-stroke. You're like bum bum bum. So when I told Preston and other people, I'm like, you might want to blip because then you can actually hear and make sure it's in each gear. And so initially that definitely helps because it it would reduce engine braking, but honestly, that compression isn't an issue. It's mainly you just don't hear it and you don't know what gear you're in, other than you just move the lever because it's such a low RPM. But yeah, it's not. I mean, I revert to Preston, but I didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah, no, I didn't really I didn't feel it that much. I mean, especially when you blip the downshifts, it's like it's not even there. If you don't blip them, then you feel it a little bit, but then you don't know what gear you're in. So that's kind of
Yes.
what I felt.
Yeah, a little more like race car is kind of revert. Like if you're in a Formula Ford or something, or if
Yeah.
anybody's driven it, and you just push it down a gear, it's like goo, goo, goo.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't hear it at all, and that's kind of this. I mean, two strokes have a real close range gearbox, so when you hit it, you don't have the compression, but it also just revs real quick. There's bing, 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 right? So you don't.
Yeah.
So it's just a different beast altogether, but not hard because I put people in that came out of like a 206 or a KA 100, and they were like, "Oh, this is great." So, yeah, I don't know. I seemed pretty
Yeah,
good.
we put a couple of new drivers in the cart. We had Jacinta Taylor out there this weekend. She drives Briggs and she drives KA 100. She was a little
Is that
hesitant
who
to
that
hop
was?
in the shifter, and then, for not understanding the clutch and the shifting, she did great.
Yeah, and Jason Berry's able to drive it now, which is really impressive.
That's messed up. I mean, I thought they revved to 15,000. So
You
what
did good.
Jason's
You
referencing,
redeemed yourself, man. It was awesome.
What Jason's
It's like a totally
referencing
different
is
guy.
last year at the Trackmagic 2021 rally, I drove the 4-stroke for the first time, and everyone on the fence is just cheering me on and waving their arms, and then I realized, well, they're not really waving; they're waving me off the track. So I come in, it's like, oh, what? Hey, I thought I was doing good, and they're like, no, you need a shift. Like, shift. That means shift the damn thing. So it was nice being on my own local track, but I love driving it. It was actually Will D'Elia's cart, the KA 100. I drove his at the end of Saturday. That one whipped my ass more than the 190 shifter. I got out of his cart and it's like, man, it's just like, okay, I'm feeling it. Whereas the 190, I was like, okay, can I go back out? Like, I want to keep driving it. So I think the 190 is going to be great for that local recreational guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, did you get a chance to drive the 190? Hold on, I muted you.
Drive Jason's original #1 prototype. We worked with him at the Easter Jam, the Trackmagic Easter Jam. And I got some laps in that. And of course, reaching for 6 gears, that wasn't there. But that thing is it's gonna save shifter karting. What Jason is doing is it's intense. And it's a like super consumer package, entry level shifting. That's and that's what we're shooting for. It's push button. It's all push button. It's easy. It's easier than mowing the lawn on a tractor. You know what I mean? And it's super drivable, super cooperative. If you miss a shift, that thing's pulling all the time, and it's such a pleasure to drive because you're not worrying. Not worrying about too much stuff. It just drives. It drives all by itself.
Yeah, you shift way less around the track in this thing. And so you just put it in a gear and torque it around a corner, and you kind of drive it more like a KA 100 or a non-shifter because it's just less shifting. But in general, I don't know if it'll save karting. I mean, here karting mentality, we don't know. I think recreational karting might be really good. I think their entry level would be awesome if people want to adapt it. I don't know if engine builders will like it because it's probably not something they're going to rebuild very often unless they start tinkering with it. But I mean,
It is
that's-
racing.
it is racing. You know, I mean, depending if somebody writes a rule book that's like you can do X, Y, and Z, but if you leave it stock, you can just go drive it like a motorcycle and just put it in your garage, and then you come back out, you push a button, and you go, and you. It's like everyone who goes buys a 450 doesn't ride Supercross like Chad Reed or you know, Ricky Carmichael or whatever, you know, in the new guys. You know, I mean, you can't, but they buy them anyway, and then they go ride them around, and you don't have to be the rock star. And this thing is a 450 still rideable on low RPM or 250, but I think that's an option for karting that it didn't have before. And then what's karting doing with their ADCC is popular just in NorCal, but karting needs something in between. That's not a KZ. That's, I mean, almost 15 to 20 grand for a full new package. I mean, I sponsor guys that run that, and I don't want to spend it. So I'm like, you know, kind of hope it grows the sport, makes the pie bigger, makes shifter kart racing more, because that's what a lot of us have passion for. I mean, that's what we did. So
I would categorize it as a Briggs, you know, a Briggs for shifter, where it's not going to save karting. It's going to introduce a lot more people to shifters than any of the other current applications that we have out there.
It's a 206. It's for, I mean, I hate to say it, but every 206 driver can buy this, spend the same amount of money and shift.
Yeah.
It's like, if you get bored with your 206, this is probably what you need if you don't want to spend any more money. And it's really like, what else are you going to buy? Good luck.
And what I really liked about it was being that I drove it last year up at Canby, and then driving it at Prairie City. It was such a comfortable fit for the Prairie City style track, where, like you guys have talked about before, it's a lot of torque. It just grunts off the bottom. You're not busy shifting like all over the place. Where some of the other shifter packages at our local NorCal tracks, except for Sonoma, but your Prairie Cities, your Blue Maxes, your Dixons, they're just a little tighter and smaller. I call them IKF tracks. And it was very enjoyable once I figured out, oh, that's the power band. Like, don't rev it to 15,000.
Yeah, I really don't need to sell it, but Ron Emick loved it.
Yeah.
Right. Bravo, man. There you go.
Yeah.
I guess it's good.
It's an honest shifter kart, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the kart, I mean, I raced on hard tires growing up. That's what I started on. Honestly, I think the KA racing would be so much better if the rear tire was either a 6-inch wide or a harder tire.
No. Let's talk about that hard tire. So I brought 4 sets for that kart.
Yeah.
Hoosier makes an R80 206. I bought it from Comet Kart.
Shout out to Morrison, Hoosier dealer for NorCal.
Okay, Hoosier dealer R80 is an exact equivalent to a YDS.
Okay.
I drove them. It feels the same. They're amazing. So if you are looking for a hard tire, that was my plan with this thing. But honestly, I didn't put them on there because it took more skill to drive that, and I was afraid a lot of people might just wad my carts up. So I thought, okay, I got to go buy MGs because they're not used to this hard tire anymore. All you old school guys would be like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. It's so much fun. But Preston, how many times, I mean, other than driving Rich's 80, have you ever driven a hard tire before?
Oh, no, just Rich's 80 pretty much.
How many of your friends or anybody has ever driven a YDS?
I don't think any. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone's used to these soft compounds now.
I mean,
I don't think they were born when they stopped making them.
Outside of the Trackmagic group, there's not many people who've driven YDSs, like you know, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I was a little scared about it, but it is that Hoosier makes them. So buy them and go drive your butt off because they work.
Yeah. So
I don't.
let's go around the robin. Let's go around the screen. As far as for this weekend, what were some of the highlights? Like Preston, this weekend, what were two highlights that really stuck out to you? That's like you're gonna walk away with like, man, that was such a fun rally.
I mean, definitely getting to drive the karts. Me and Kyle also had a pretty good battle in the 4-stroke shifters, which that was a lot of fun.
Oh, I have that. Okay, keep talking
yeah.
and I'll find it.
Yeah, no, that was like I think that was probably the best, like the most fun I had. I mean, also I met a lot of new people, which like I was very thankful for, and I got a lot of good advice. So that's kind of like my favorite parts of the
Did
weekend.
you learn to mount tires?
Yeah, 4 sets. Yeah, Jason helped me with that.
My hands are so sore.
Yeah, no, that sucked.
Let's see, Bob. What about you? What was two of your highlights from this weekend?
First and foremost, Donald Durbin for hosting and what he did for the facility to host us. That was him and I were both nervous. Is how is this going to work out? And we were pleased with the results. That would be the first and foremost thing. Secondly, would be obviously me and Rob Howden worked together on this package to restore his Trackmagic cart. He's actually an owner now. So, and for the efforts that I put into his cart, getting it online and safe to run, and to have that, everybody, there was, I think, half a dozen people drove the cart and nobody came in with issues. And everybody came in just, man, this thing is bananas. And that was my key play. And thirdly, just having my brother there this weekend.
Very cool. Yeah, no, it's we'll have Rich do his, but real quickly, when you mentioned Rob Howden, it was really cool to see. A lot of people don't realize a lot of us started whatever part of the industry we're in karting because we were racers and we wanted to be around it more. And I don't think in the 25 years that I've known Rob, I don't think I've ever seen him in a cart. And I know he's been in and out of karting for a while, but it was really cool to see him jumping into the 190, then jumping into the TM and bouncing around to different carts and just driving as a carter, and not Rob Howden, the EKN guy, or announcing. It was just really cool to see him in that role. So I completely agree with you on that. Rich,
Yeah.
what about you?
What about me?
The weather,
well,
was that your highlight?
it was good seeing all the old faces. I mean, it was kind of historical, Ron Emick, Tom Woods, Gary LaPointe, old. That's like having Abe Lincoln, Ben Franklin, and George Washington there, guys. Historical legends in karting and chopping it up, and then seeing Emick go out there and blast off, and it's like, holy cow, who's this old? It's an old guy, and he's hauling ass. And the smile on his face, he was just fired up, and just the whole kumbaya with the whole event. Everybody's happy, everybody helping each other. Hey, my car, hey, it sounds a little rich. Hey, check this, check that, and helping people get their cars going right. And there's a couple, having newbies there getting to see what the sport's like, and they're hooked. Some of the people that I talked to that were new to it come just out to visit, and that was cool. And the second highlight, my favorite highlight of the weekend, would be seeing the cars stay together, the 4Z190s, because it's testing. It's like flying the space shuttle for the first time after the prototype, And Jason was saying that over 30 plus people ran through those cars, and there was no really mechanical issues. Little bugs, it's common with new designs, new engine packages, and But for the most part, I think it was a success. Viva Gary Lapointe and Jason Lapointe for, granting us the opportunity to, like Bob and I, to get back into the sport. I haven't bent a wrench on a go-kart in 20 years up until we went up to Oregon to, build the 190s. And it was just an ultimate privilege. And to see them go and people's reactions is like, that's the big payoff, the instant gratification. You just sitting back listening to people talking once they get out of the seat, pop their helmet off, and they're just all the comments and the great feedback. And I feel this might be the game changer in karting for the recreational guy. Like Jay's saying, that the engine builders aren't going to like it because they don't have to rebuild them so often. But from a mechanic standpoint, no jetting, no mixing fuel, no tuning, trying to beat your head again. So all these things are just plug your DeWalt battery in, click. Hey, can I borrow your impact for a sec? Take the battery off, click it on, push that button, go. Simple. It's going to be great. So I commend the points or Jason for coming up with this. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm pretty sure Jason's Jason's dad Gary had the worst joke of the weekend, where hey, I'll push start you.
Yeah, but no, at the end of the day, it was a epic weekend. And
So I found the video of Preston and Kyle hopping on the track. So let me cue that up for you guys for a second.
do it.
Oh, there we go. This is a good.
Yeah, nice shirt, Preston.
Oh yeah.
I was doing stuff on Norcal. I'm talking too. Instagram.
Of course.
What? Wick just starts jumping curbs when he can't get right there on Preston's bumper. He's like, I'm just going to drive over the track.
So we got Kyle Wick in the front, Preston Lambert in second. They're chasing each other around here at Prairie City. Looks like we have Kyle Martin out there. Lone Star Kyle Martin. He's in an 80. So this is the Trackmagic Rally here at Prairie City. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to kind of get used to the sound.
So it grows on you because after like listening to him a lot, and then you hear like just like a stock 80, I was like, whoa, kind of sounds weak here in a two-stroke now because it's no thunder, Yeah. But I'm a two-stroke guy from, I just think this is a better deal. I mean, that's, I'm not trying to sell it like if there's a better option out there for people, I'd build that. But this is what I thought was best. But that was a cool run. That didn't do it justice, Preston, the video. Sorry, Jason, but that was you had Wick, like, first off, like he was, sorry, Wick, but you're missing shifts and you were frustrated. You were trying to beat Preston. You were jumping that curb and like, he already went through like 5 chassis this year. And, now I'm wondering, like, after seeing it firsthand, I was like, oh man, that's why this is costing so much to run KZ. It's like, they're like, oh, the chassis is flat. I'm like, oh, God, they're jumping the curbs like madman out there. And these guys that are so in shape, now, and they can hit stuff and then they can physically just drive it out. And it's like no big deal to them and shift in the middle of a, airborne. And it's impressive to watch, but definitely abusive on all the equipment. That's for sure. But, it was that was a fun run. I think it would be really cool to see a grid of good drivers out there ripping these around.
Yeah.
For sure. So anyway,
Yeah,
I had
I walked around the whole track while Kyle and Preston were out there because they actually spent a lot of time out there. And I'm trying to get there's a couple angles I had in the infield. There we go. And then where they were going through, coming down the corkscrew at the top of the hill. And then as soon as I got over to the corkscrew area, I think it was Kyle that pulled off.
yeah.
and when there's 2 or 3 of those things going around the track, I had some friends say, "Man, the monsters are out. The monsters are out because
Yeah.
coming out of multiple 190s is just, dude. Like Jay was saying, how about a grid full of them?
Yeah.
That'd be
People
crazy.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I'm not even excited about trying to race them. I'm just excited about getting in people's hands that are just recreational guys that just want to. They just want to have 3 or 4 buddies that all have the same package.
Okay, this is why I built them. So my highlight, since I didn't get a turn, was obviously having my buddies run around with me. You know, and we waited till Sunday morning so we could go out and just kind of rip around. Didn't care if anyone was watching, whatever. And it's definitely the highlight because I think that's what everyone's going to have fun doing with them is go race your buddy. You don't need to show up at a big event or pay a huge entry fee or whatever. I mean, you can literally show up. There's actually a group in Oregon right now at Pat Saker's called the Dirty Dozen. Shows up every Wednesday with their CR 125s. And that might be something that catches on, you know. It's just guys that show up. You don't need to have a big, you know, deal to just go have fun. And all of us had fun. We didn't, you know, and it's a good package for that. It's just, you know, besides that, I mean, Ron Emick and Rob Howden and a few legends showing up. Track Terry Ives was there. I don't know if you guys know him. Legendary. Raced my dad. He raced for years. He broke a lot of bones and done a lot of bad wrecks, and he kept going. Somehow he's still walking, which is amazing. And he actually was one of the guys that gave my dad advice on how to help Dale Nugget finally get his carburetor to work on his package, and Dale was able to go out and run his CR 125 Demon around the track and wear himself out. So it was a good deal for, you know, it's amazing. Like when somebody did have a problem, it was almost too much information from the amount of experience that was walking around. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you know, I had walking in on Friday. It's like I figured Friday was the day people were going to start showing up and setting up camp and to be a little bit more casual and see who goes out. And then on Saturday, it's like, okay, you know, I told Dale this last time. It's like I wanted to like nail Dale down on an interview with that with his road race cart that he has. He has that road race Trackmagic. And I was looking for opportunities all weekend long to pull guys aside and interview them and, you know, kind of sit down and kind of catalog with the carts they have. And every time I would go, you know, like Jason, you were and Rich and Bob, all of you guys were like involved in the weekend. You're involved in stories. You're involved in sharing time. And it was amazing how busy everyone was just networking and socializing and just talking about karting. That honestly, it didn't feel natural to pull people away and can I interview you? Like they're catching up with their friends or their old teammates, and to me, that was one of the big highlights that I had as an outsider looking in and kind of migrating. It's like, man, there's a lot going on. And Saturday, those pits were full.
Trackmagic Alley.
It was exactly Trackmagic Alley. Yeah, there's a few videos I posted on the Trackmagic owners group of walking through, and Yeah, again, all the carts that are just laid out, everything from the brand new
We had
GSC
guys
slash
coming in too.
Trackmagic stuff to
Guys driving in from Reno just to drive the 4Z. A friend of mine that
yeah,
races a Trackmagic and an Invader 206, and guy from Gardnerville, David. Man, he called me this morning talking about the 4Z package and had some great ideas about shifting. And I was getting phone call. I must have talked to 30 people on the way home today. Yeah,
yeah,
David Schilt,
Schilt, yeah,
and he brought out his 97. Used to be a Trackmagic dealer in Nevada, one of the first ones there, and brought out his 97. I think Don DeLea sold like 3 go-karts. I mean, people were buying carts, people were buying stuff, people were driving. It was kind of a little more going on than what we see in
well,
other
and
realms.
you were able to put in, the factory Trackmagic chassis in a new Carter's hands. Oh, I'm getting the finger. In new people's hands, and that's the other thing about the rally that I think we don't need more Trackmagic rallies because I think it would get oversaturated. We need every major brand to have an owners group that can do what you guys are doing to network. And again, you said Dawn sold 3 carts. You sold the 125 shifter that had 1 race on it. It's
Coal Shades.
yeah, Coal Shades. It's a good time to move equipment and get new people back on the track.
Yeah, and most guys that were selling stuff still have stuff. They just have stuff they'd rather just sell than collect dust or get other, or they were just like, I want to get my buddy into it, and so they're selling good machines and and making them get used. It's hard to take care of everything that you have, and I mean, so you have to kind of let it go sometimes to let other people enjoy it and make the group bigger.
Yep. And that was the whole foundation of the Trackmagic Owners Group.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you all, you guys too.
Yeah, get the cart back
It
on the
takes
track.
a village. It takes a village to build this. Without your guys' help, it would just be me and my brother sitting in there in the Trackmagic Owners Group.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also seeing. I mean, I think again, Donald did it. He was a great partner, Track.
Absolutely.
Because he's. I was there the week before, and he was telling me, "Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." It's like, when is he going to find the time to do this? Like it. And then I showed up Friday. He had all the curbs painted black, and all of them black and yellow. Everything was cleaned. A lot of people commented that it doesn't affect Trackmagic or not as far as branding, but a lot of the shrubs and the bushes and the trees were trimmed back. That a lot of the regulars noticed, like, that now we can see further down the track or do this. So that was really cool to see a track operator take pride in who they were bringing in. It's like, hey, let's make it special for these guys.
He did great, Jason. And I also want to shout out to the management of Pat's Acres, which was the most recent event last year, right?
Yeah, the Ager family.
They went to town for us.
Yep.
The Blue Max Kart Club just absolutely adore us. And
but you guys like brought a tornado and to ruin the track for them,
right? So without these other, our tracks, we need tracks to do this, and without those folks, this wouldn't be happening. So, here a huge shout out to the track management people.
Yeah, all of them. Don Durbin was amazing this time. Yeah, Chris Ager, his family, all the guys at Davis. It's accommodating. It was hard finding tracks. Some, you don't have rear bumper, or you're not running a airbox, or, I mean, yeah, definitely hard.
I forgot about that. I don't know, bump.
That's why we haven't done this at Sonoma yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dixon didn't even want to answer the phone.
Who didn't want to answer the phone?
Kinsman, Dixon.
Oh.
They said no.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's because it's just a different deal, right? It's just like, oh, it's not a race. I think some operators have a hard time thinking a little bit outside the box to get. It's not a race. It's like, oh, what's a rally?
It's hard
way
to
more fun than a
promote the
race.
rally.
Yeah.
It's hard to promote the rally and tell the people commenting that it's not a race. Like,
Yeah.
they just don't get that.
Well, the first thing you guys did is pulled out a stopwatch.
You're not. Yeah, you might get a trophy, but it won't be for winning.
Right?
Oh, there it is.
Hey, there we go.
Ooh,
Blue Max.
We had a
There's
special
Kyle.
guest.
Oh,
That
wait, hold
weekend.
on. I gotta. There's the Texan, right there. Hold on.
that's the best shot
Hold on.
ever.
There's okay. There's Kyle. He's from Texas. Never
White
seen a tornado in
Claw.
his life. Running.
No laws.
But yeah, that was pretty good.
That was actually really scary for a minute.
The what?
It was really scary for a minute. I mean, there was hay bales, 55-gallon drums spinning 100 yards in the air. We're like, oh my God, the thing was coming right for us. I thought that's it. It's going to blow this whole paddock off. And all
Birds
of
were
a sudden,
flying in
bang, it
circles.
turned. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I'd never seen a tornado. And yeah, it was just something else, man.
I think it's funny that for local, and we'll wrap it up after this, but I think it's funny for like local karting. The only way we make it on TV is with a tornado, because that was all over our Northern California news channels.
That
Yeah.
was thanks to Rich's buddy. What's his name?
Greg Yanazzo.
Yeah, Greg.
Yes, yeah.
I told you. I called it. He was boasting about it.
Oh, no,
We
he
run
predicted,
Channel
he
3
predicted
News.
the tornado like an hour before it happened, and we're like, "This guy's kind of crazy." And then we're like, "This guy's a genius."
Yeah.
Jason, since we have you up on the big screen, why don't you give out your shout outs, final thoughts, start wrapping us up here, and then when we drop you, you'll still be in the studio. So
Okay. Well, we got a shout out to my father. You know, it was just him and I solo at the end for me to get ready for this event, and I usually always forget him when I'm supposed to thank people because he's just there all the time to help, and so I appreciate my dad. You know, and Bob and Rich helped me get these carts together, and I wouldn't have been there with anything for these 30 plus people to drive, and without their help. And this event went off with Durbin and stuff. I mean, you got to thank that guy like 3 or 4 times. I mean, he was cool as hell, and I and then Bob and Jeff Deskins, we have an ongoing thread going almost every night, trying to get things going like this and keep things current. So Jeff, and a big shout out to Rob for joining the group. Rob Howden's just been a voice of karting for so long, so Rob has been it's great to see him out there. And but the rest of the group, I mean, Don DeLea and George Barros and the core members that have been at every event, and then the new guys coming in left and right. I mean, and all the Trackmagic current drivers that show up. I mean, it's cool. I mean, seeing Cole Shade come out, and he's not probably going to race anymore for a bit. He's going to go to college, and then seeing new drivers like Preston, and seeing our current KZ driver like Wick, and seeing even Gary Carlton show up and basically even with everything going on, these people showed up and did the job, and the event brings out the legends of the sport. And Emick, Ronnie showing up was the highlight for a lot of people. I mean, those who watched that helmet go around the track for years and stuff, that was great. So wrapping it up with that, I tell you what, every time we have one of these, I don't think we can top it, and then you have another one. So I look forward to see what's going to happen next, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
Very cool. Jason, thank you for joining us tonight. And then I really appreciate, I mean, you were on the road, all day long, and you just barely got home there in Oregon. And so I really do appreciate you taking the time to chime in.
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
hey, you forced me into it. You guilted me with the whole "you're a super pro guy" or something like that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Barry, you're just so good."
Oh, you did the same thing to me, but different language.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
no, dude. I'm burned out. I've had enough. Come on.
master.
Come on. It's like,
Honestly, I
oh,
think it makes it more genuine too, because it was just a fun, long weekend that I think is more genuine when you get like, none of us are refreshed. Like, it's like, man, it was a lot of fun. So thank you, Jason, for joining us.
Yep.
Let's see. Next up, we'll have Rich.
Well, like I say, shout out to Donald Durbin and his whole crew. Ran a stellar weekend. Everybody was safe. Everything was managed well. Thank the LaPointes once again for the development and still having the passion for this. And like Jason said, once you're in, it's like the mafia. You bleed black and yellow, and we just grateful for all the support and all the old drivers, mechanics, tuners, everybody who comes out and just talks story. And it's brings you back, It's always gonna be a place in my heart.
Well, Rich,
thank-
thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for supporting Norcal Carters over the past couple of years. I still need more Gorilla barbecue rub.
On its way. Super
On its
Combi
way.
Spice Rub Mix at www.gorillabbq.com.
If they're smoking, they're open.
That's right. That's right. Peace out,
All
you
right.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Hey, Rich.
All right. Good night.
And then next up, sorry, that was supposed to be Bob. Bob, the person I've called the summoner, because this group may or may not have happened, but for sure, everyone points a finger at you as far as being member number one of getting TMOG going. So thank you, and final shout outs, Bob. And thanks for bringing the camera on.
I just learned how to do this today. Shout out to you, Jason, for this, for backing us, advertising us, support, and for karting. Secondly, obviously, Jason and Gary LaPointe. Those guys they got their boots on all the time. They just always, moving forward and enjoying motorsports. And then my, Rich, everybody involved, Jeff, Deskins, key members, Rob Howden. The list is too long to cover. And with this village we have here, you asked earlier, can some other manufacturer do this? No.
That's a straight call out. Come on, manufacturers. Let's get the other owners groups going. Tag Norcal Carters. If you did half of what the Trackmagic owners group did, it would help grow karting. Bob, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming on. And next, Factory Pilot. Let's see here. I'm going to Plambert. Take it away.
Yeah, no, I'd have to again thank Donald. I mean, the track was amazing. I mean, all the details. Obviously, Rich and Jason and Gary for putting on a great event. It was a blast. It was awesome. Oh, and Rob Howden for letting me drive his ICC. So that was.
Oh, you did? You drove the TM?
Yeah, that thing was fast. It was fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
putting
me.
in the fast lap of the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice shirt.
Yeah, of course. Reppin'.
Perfect. All right. We'll have you on again.
Yeah, for sure.
You're one of our regulars.
Yep.
Let's see. Ashley, do you want to go next or me? All right. Thanks, Preston.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Ashley.
All right, Norcal. So we have some shows coming up. We're going to have an officials show coming up where officials are going to come on. They're going to answer your questions. They're going to tell you what they're looking for. It's never been done before, so we're going to do it here. Okay, so open mic night was a little bit scarier than I thought. So we are going to have an open mic night part 2. We're also going to have a safety gear show coming up. And DM us your ideas, guys. I'm working on the fall schedule already. We're going to do a lot of postseason stuff with some of our clubs. So let me know what you guys want to see in the fall. Peace, NorCal.
All right. That was Ashley. That was our panel. Tonight, again, it was open mic night. Guess who stepped up? The Trackmagic Owners Group right there. They're the ones that stepped up tonight. So if you ever pull me aside at the track and you say, hey, you should do this or you should do that, 1, follow all of our pages. 2, when we do open mic night, chime in. Send us your information so we can get you the links to come on. And 3, if we all get one person into karting, we'll double by next year. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.